Hello and welcome everybody. Thank you very much for joining our webinar today. We are glad to have you. And today we will be talking about how you can simplify your IFS Cloud journey. Very happy to have my colleague Peter with me today. Unfortunately, my colleague Christine didn't make it. We were planning to run the session, but Peter, welcome. Thank you very much for joining me.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Pleasure.
So a few details on today's agenda. What we will be talking about today and what we will cover is a brief overview of who we are and what we do. I will touch on the values and the benefits we provide to our customers. And Peter will do actually the heavy lifting and more interesting part of our demonstration. He will show you how ClickLearn works with IFS Cloud, covering a lot of details about capturing processes, different learning formats, but also showing you how the new functionality, the User Adoption Center works. Just a note, we will be presenting the end-to-end solution today. I see that in the audience we have people that might never heard about and seen ClickLearn. We have also people that are already existing customers. So just for the sake of everybody getting to know ClickLearn properly, we will be presenting all the details. Of course, some parts shorter and others in a longer manner. Moving forward, what we will be talking about is obviously, as I mentioned, who we are. We are today helping above 750 customers. We do help partners and customers, organizations to capture the processes within the organization, to map those processes in the applications and convert this to training materials and user instructions. Through those 750 customers, we do actively help above 8,000 authors. Those are, of course, the super users that use our solution to record and capture those processes, edit those, produce the different formats, and deliver them to the end users. A little bit on our history with IFS. We've been working with IFS since 2015, and so far we have onboarded about 400 IFS customers. Those customers being in any location, also any industry and size of organization. We are a global partner and also a platinum partner, and our offices are in Copenhagen, in Denmark. We have an office in the United States and an office in India. When it comes to our mission, it's very simple and straightforward. It is making new IFS customers more successful with IFS platforms and technologies. We will be dividing today's webinar into three different areas. And the first one to start with is, how does an author work with the application? How can they easily and simply build training materials, and how they can accelerate the content creation process? And when we talk about content creation, when it's done manually, of course, it requires a lot of resources and a lot of time. And we at ClickLearn automate this whole process of capturing, and the application actually writes the instructions for you. What an author simply needs to do is to walk through the process when they are in IFS. ClickLearn will recognize and capture each interaction and step and convert this to high-quality training materials. Those training materials will be formatted to the corporate template, and they will match the corporate identity. Of course, the benefits of this is time saving, and organizations can save up to 80% time compared to doing this manually or even semi-manually. Another challenge for the organizations is keeping these training materials up to date. We can see a tendency and a trend where organizations unfortunately don't do this on a regular basis, which then of course leads to end users reflecting and making use of outdated training materials. We at ClickLearn automate this process as well. So the technology recognizes changes in your solution. It also realizes differences between the versions. So what an author simply needs to do is to click on a replay button. ClickLearn will stop at the changes and differences. The author can simply update the steps, save, and produce the new version of the materials. This, of course, is very important and ideal in several different scenarios. One of those is when you are updating your IFS environment. Especially now looking at IFS Cloud and the evergreen model, updating instructions will become most probably more frequently, and the demand for updating those will be more often, potentially with smaller changes, but more often than it was before. Another reason for this being very useful is obviously when the business is asking you to change or modify the process, or as well if you need to translate these processes and localize them in the local language. We've mentioned about our relationship and how we support IFS and IFS technologies, but of course we also see that a lot of organizations also have other technologies in their portfolio, and cross systems are fully supported with ClickLearn. So whenever your process leaves IFS, ClickLearn will follow and will create the very same high quality instructions also in those environments. This is possible through our recording technology we call connectors, and we have connectors for Office applications, SharePoint, third-party Windows and web applications. The complete Dynamics 365 range is covered. Power Apps, Power BI, Teams, for example, Salesforce and other CRM solutions are also supported. So, Peter, over to you. Could you please share and show us how the recording process works? We will then be talking about the user onboarding. So, over to you.
Well, thank you so much. I'll just quickly share my screen here, see if I can get this too. So, as you said before, when we are recording with ClickLearn, all we need is a business application. And I got one here. I've chosen the IFS Cloud, this particular demo, but it does not really matter, as you already said, Aaron, because we can, of course, support any of the IFS applications. So that goes anything from Maintenance to FSM to Cloud and previous app Windows versions. And the way that we do the recording is exactly the same as we're going to be seeing here. So you need the application, and then you need, of course, ClickLearn Studio. ClickLearn Studio is a Click Once application. It's only needed for the ones that are going to be creating content. So what we call authors, they need this one. And to start a recording, you simply go up here to New, create a new recording, give it a name, and that could be edit a company. You choose the UI you're going to be recording it on, and since I spun this one up in English, I'm going to be keeping that one. And then I say next. ClickLearn will give you a little guide in best recommendations for when you're doing the recordings. And we can, of course, go through all of these once we are onboarding you or you're going in for a trial license. When we get into this part here, ClickLearn is going to give you a side panel. And in this side panel, we can do two different ways. We can do either single or automatic. Single step simply means that once you're clicking record and you want to go into a process, then we wait for the green light. We do an action, and every time we do a single action, that be anything from typing or navigating through your application, ClickLearn will stop up and tell you what you did. Automatic means that it's just going to follow you and not stop you in the way of the recording. So in this case here, since we're going into a company, I can just quickly navigate through the process of navigating into a company. And as you can see, all that I'm doing right now is simply just following a process that I would do normally when I'm working in IFS. Whenever I navigate into a step, as we saw in the beginning, ClickLearn will, of course, capture it. And if I, in this case here, also enter information, then that will also be captured. So if I stop the recording here for a second, so stop, you will see that all of the steps we went through have been captured. And if I click on stop completely, then ClickLearn will go in and say that this took me about 1 minute and 23 seconds to record. And if I go to the recording list, it will now create a source file. So this source file, as you can see here, this is what is controlling everything that we're doing. All updates we're going to do to the process, anything that I add in of additional additional information. And even if we choose to use that replay function, as you mentioned, Aaron, where we are updating it for other languages, that will also be controlled from one source file. So I don't need to have multiple versions of it. All of that will be kept by ClickLearn. Every time you do a change, it will add a version number out here. So when you have a completely clean new recording, it will have 1.0. And as soon as you do edits to it, it will give you a 1.1, 1.2, etc. And that means that you can also move back and forth in updates if there is something that you needed to do change there. If we have a quick glance at the preview here, then from what we just did with the little green light following along there, ClickLearn already created a complete documentation for me. I now have a script where everything that I did, all actions, have been outlined for me. I can see every single feature that I did inside, and I can even get this delivered in the 7 different learning formats. So instantly I get my show me, try me, test me, PDF, PowerPoint, and I also can choose to get a Word document if I want to do that in the publishing template. The Word and the PDF will be controlled by the same publishing template. And when you enter into one of these, there we go. Then it automatically creates everything for you. I've set this one up with my initials, with the date of creation, amount of pages that I'm looking at, and then of course my company name, and then the title of the instruction. All of which can be completely customized so it matches what your needs for metadata is. Branding can of course be completely customized. In this case here, I've set it up with the IFS logo. And of course, all my different steps are being aligned in here. So this is made directly out of the box. When we talk about PowerPoint presentation, if you're doing social trainings, well, with ClickLearn, instead of having, as you could see, the crop thumbnails that we're looking at in HTML, the Word, the PDF, here we get the full screen capture. So in this case here, when you're looking at the formats, you can see that we get a full screen capture, marking of area of interest, and of course the instruction. And now you can easily go through this process in a social training scenario. That'd be either on Teams or in a meeting room, for instance. But not only do we create these written instructions directly from a recording, we also generate 3 different types of videos. The first one, that's a show me video. This is a walkthrough of the processes. This is where we simply just make a YouTube video, you might say.
Click on the navigation sub-menu Application Base Setup. Click on the navigation sub-menu Enterprise. Click on the navigation sub-menu Company. Navigate to Application Base Setup Enterprise, Company, Companies.
Just turn off the sound for a second, because as you can see here, the cursor is moving seamlessly through all of the steps, showing us exactly where to click. At the same time, all of my instructions are being narrated by these digital voices. So from seeing a green light, then instantly having 7 formats, having a narrated video, and even seeing exactly where are the processes. There's no like fiddling around when I was like moving my mouse around. All of that is being completely streamlined. So it's a very, very clean video that we get out of that. We even add in the ability to give feedback as an end user. So that means in a second, after Aaron has talked a little bit to us, I can show you something about how we present this in a learning format, etc. But this gives the end user the ability to go in and comment directly to the authors and give you some really good information on how they're interacting with the system. Second video we get here, that's a try me video. It's a
Click on the navigation sub-menu Application Base Setup.
It's an interactive video, as I was about to say. So it's still going to have the narration and the subtitles. If you want to have those in there, you can, of course, also customize that. I'll just turn off the sound here, as you can see. But the thing is here that it's going to do the same as before, but now it's giving me control of the cursor. So the cursor is no longer navigating through the application. I simply have to go in here and perform the tasks that are being required. If I click somewhere else, it's not going to progress to the next step. So this is going to give you muscle memory and understanding how to use the processes. So it's kind of a safe environment where you can go through all of it. And then when you go to the live system, you have recognition of where you're going. You kind of know what to do because you tried everything in this closed video. Last one, that is for testing. So that means quite simple. We can go
Click on the navigation sub-menu Application Base Setup.
That will, of course, run on the same simulation as the previous one. So that means you will get the narration, you will get the subtitles, but you can also turn it off so you have just a clean screen capture. So now they actually needed to pay attention and understand it. If they don't know where they're going and they're clicking something about here, click on whatever, it's of course going to show me and click and score me wrong at the very end. If I just quickly run through the process here, maybe even choose just one step wrong, and then we go in here, details, also was company name, and then we went into authorization, entered ID, and there we go. At the very end, you can see that I get a test This one here has set up with 4 attempts and an 80% passing grade. Where it needed to show me where to go, it of course gave me 0 out of 4. And where I just did a single misstep, it gives me a 3 out of 4. So it's a very easy way for you to set this up to do testing on your employees, but also understanding how well do they understand the processes. We do deliver analytics. That means that you can pick up a pass or fail, how they're doing. The direct, as you're seeing here, this will be presented for the end user only. All of our formats also SCORM compliant. So that means that not only when we're coming back, I'm coming back in a second and showing you how Learning Portal looks like, we can actually also take all these formats and completely add them into an LMS. So we can build a SCORM package that you can upload, and then you can either use all 7 formats, or for instance, just a test me video for testing purposes in that LMS system. But this is what you get completely out of back. Do a recording, instantly you got these 7 formats. And before I keep on going, Aaron, and talking about how you can add more value to it and build up the Learning Portal and how that looks like, do you maybe want to give us a little bit on formats and Learning Portals?
Sure. Of course, I will gladly provide more information about those different formats. So I'll quickly share my screen here again now and move on with the next part of the presentation. As you already have seen, Peter introduced us to the different learning formats. So the topic obviously is how you can enhance user onboarding experience and productivity. How can you get end users productive in IFS Cloud from day one, and what does the end user more or less get with the application. So when we talked about the different formats that you have seen, obviously we are providing the common formats like Word, PowerPoint, PDF. There is also, as you've seen, a hyperlink, a web page with the hyperlinks to the training materials. On top of those common formats, we also deliver those training videos. The important thing about the videos is that they can be translated into multiple languages. They will be computer narrated in the local language, and 2 of those will be also interactive. Of course, the Show Me video is just an explainer. It doesn't require any interaction, but the Try Me video is very interesting because it requires the end user to interact with the material in order to proceed with the guidance. It's kind of a safe sandbox environment where the end user can try out the process without the danger of changing something in the application. And the last video is the Test Me video. Now, the Test Me video requires the user to complete the process while simply being measured. At the end of the video, they will get a score, and they will understand if they fail or pass a specific mark, if they are simply ready to move on into the application, into the live environment. And the last format that we deliver is the Live Assistant. This assistant is very interesting and useful as well, and it does help a lot the end user. The end user basically doesn't need to contact a colleague to ask for the process details. They don't have to call help desk. They don't even need to read a manual. What they can simply do is they can activate this little avatar, which will guide them step by step inside the live application. And for the end user, talking about the different formats and the values of those, of course, it's also very important. How do you deliver those to the end user? How do you make them easily available and accessible for them? And there is a very simple solution. You can build several learning portals, which will then help you to organize the different formats, to put all these files and learning formats together, but also to control and monitor the onboarding process of your end users. So these are the values for the end user. Peter, could you just show us how the portal structure looks like? And then I will be back talking about the newest functionality that we just released.
Yeah, I'll just share my screen here quickly. Hopefully do it a little less painful than last time. There we go, and you should be able to see my screen now.
Yes.
Brilliant. So this is where we left off, but if I just close this one down and we get a quick glance here, this is an example of a learning portal. You can, of course, completely customize this however you want to. I've set this one up with IFS colors, logo, and font style. And then I've chosen some standard icons. You can completely choose your own, upload your own icons if you want to use that instead. When we are organizing your different folders in here. That also gives you the ability to do subfolders and add in recordings depending on where you are. If we take an interest in a recording like the one we recorded just before, then you can see here we have all of the steps here, and even the Word document that we talked about earlier is available in here. The learning folder is made so it's completely searchable. So if I, for instance, type in a word or just a couple of letters or a single letter, then ClickLearn will instantly give me suggestions to what word could I be looking for within the learning portal, but also references to any of the instructions that I've created that relates to, for instance, access or account. So if I want to say something about validating delivery terms, instantly ClickLearn will take me there and show me that this is to access and validate delivery term. So that is how neat it works in here. We can download the full learning portal. That will give me one document, a PDF document, with all of the different instructions, and of course with an active index according to what we did. This is a small dummy portal so I don't have that many recordings inside it, but there is of course unlimited the amount of storage and recordings you want to upload to your learning portal. This is another example where I've also added in hyperlinks to, for instance, ClickLearn's web page. That means that you can, if you have external content, also add that in as hyperlinks directly into your learning portal. And as you can see, you can organize with different icons if you want to do that. You can always get an overview of what you got in your learning portal by clicking on content. And if we take an example in the one that we had just before, I had that one in here as a URL. And by the way, that's another thing that I kind of forgot to mention. All our content that is created in a responsive design. So as an end user, what you do is that you interact with ClickLearn by just getting a URL that will be opened up in the browser, and then you have it available wherever you need it. As I said, responsive design, so that means it will automatically adjust to the device that you're viewing it from. So if you're viewing it from a mobile device or a tablet, the view will be a little bit different than when you're viewing it on the desktop like I'm doing right now. But the one thing that I was showing is that if you do go in and use the replay function that we'll cover in a second, then ClickLearn can create this in multiple languages. And I did that. Now, I am not very good at French, but I took the liberty of going in and replaying my instructions into French. Then I get a little globus up here, and I can now go in and choose that instead. So if I want to go in and see, well, by the way, how do I do this particular recording? Then ClickLearn will give me the instruction. Everything will be in French, and I can now see the different recordings that I have in French. If I click on the video, well then...
Utilisez ce guide pour mettre à jour les informations de votre compte.
Instantly, I have a French voice narrating my instructions. So converting instructions is going to be so easy, and you can do that by just a replay and a quick translation in ClickLearn. We'll get to that. But this is actually how easily you do it. And of course, you can also add this one into your training materials. You can add it in to have it inside IFS. I have different learning portals that are built in here. That is going to be linked into it, and you can sign in with your Office 365 if you want to do that. And then, of course, I know there is something else that I'm very eager to talk about, and you mentioned in the very beginning, but I'll keep that as a little cliffhanger, the User Adoption Center.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Peter. So let me introduce this functionality that we've been looking forward to release for our IFS customers and potential customers in the future. So just to share my screen very quickly again, I have one single slide about this feature. I can't share my screen, unfortunately.
All right.
Yeah.
No?
No, I think you need, yes, now I can share my screen. Thank you. So talking about the new User Adoption Center, we've announced this just now at Unleashed in Orlando, and it's been a great experience so far and great feedback from our existing customers about this technology. very shortly what it is and what it does. This is obviously AI-powered assistance, which is embedded directly inside IFS, and it's a side panel that is on top of IFS, basically on the right-hand side of your UI and application. And this technology, we believe, will transform how you train people, how you guide them and support them while they are working, while they are using IFS and IFS Cloud. There are a couple of advantages and features with this technology. Of course, the first one is the guidance. What you can basically do with the User Adoption Center, you can provide contextual in-app guidance and walkthroughs that will help the end user to understand how to complete a process 100% correctly. On top of this, there is AI-powered assistance. So whenever the end user has a question, they will get instant answers to their questions, making sure that they can find all necessary information, be it around the technology, be it around IFS usage and processes, or also other internal information and policies. And the final feature and detail about this technology is the notification center. So what you and as an organization can do is you can provide notifications and valuable information about changes in your processes, about important updates in your environment, which can be personalized and will make sure that your end users know what's up to date and what is important for the organization and for them as well when they are looking into the technology and working with IFS Cloud. So, Peter, please show us how the User Adoption Center works, what it really delivers to the end user, and why it's so groundbreaking.
Yeah, sure. I'll just go back into my... There we go. So, we talked about the learning portal. Take the URL, add it to an extension, and now you get a little view, a little icon up here. When I click on this icon, I instantly got access to the content that we talked about before. Now, in here, when I'm working in IFS, ClickZone will give me suggestions to what relates to where I am within the application. So, for instance, if I want to see, what's new, we talked about that one in IFS Cloud. Instantly, it takes me into that learning portal, and I can get a good instruction about that. It would also be that I wanted to see another instruction, or I wanted to search something out, maybe even get like a tour. Well, here, welcome as a maintenance engineer. Yes, I would like to see something about that. Can you explain it to me? Well, then it will start out with a video.
All right, first off, thank you for choosing to become a maintenance engineer at ClickLearn. You and your team is responsible for the happiness of our valued customers. I am not going to take too much of your time. You probably just want to get started. So please allow me to introduce your new system in 2 to 3 minutes. Then you can explore for yourself and we can reconnect.
So after the video here, I can now go in and say, okay, well then let's have a look. Okay, so this is welcome to hold the mouse up to move the mouse up to home. And then, by the way, if you click on your profile settings, yeah, I'd love to do that. Then it gives me. So what you can see here is that not only do I get a tour on how do I navigate through them, but the assistant here is actually also showing me exactly where to click on all the different steps we're looking at. So very easily I can navigate through my process, getting on-screen guidance simply from my process over on the side. If we stop my little tour here, which is going to take me through the entire process here, and say, do you know what? I'm new to this organization. I'm new to IFS. How do I report? How do I report absence? I think I wrote it. Something. So my little AI chat, that will now go in and look at what is it that I put in. Then it will look through the library that I have. Maybe if I could spell correctly. How There we go. So it goes through all the content that I've uploaded, and that means I can have external documentation. That could be some PDF files that I created previously, and of course all my recordings. So as I ask, how do I do this? It goes in and it looks at it and says, by the way, this is how you can go in and do report absence. How do you create an absence request? You simply just click on this one, and now the process is available. I can have a glance at the video. What would that look like?
Before taking time off, you need approval from your manager. The first step is to create a leave request. Your manager will be notified and either approve or delete the request. You need to create requests in the following cases: sickness or sick leave, planned sick days, such as visits to the doctor or to hospitals, personal time off, annual leave. Navigate to Human Capital Management, Manager Services, Time and Attendance, Absence Calendar. Your absence calendar. Absence limits. Click here to check your absence limits.
So as you can see in the videos, we can even combine instructions taken from the scope file and have that available in your instructions. And now if I just want to say, well, how do I do that? Could you assist me with it? I click on Assistant. The navigation part here will now tell me exactly where to go. And now I can go in and perform the task. So if you look at the user adoption center here, it's a lot like a performance support tool. You get all the instructions exactly where you need it, and you can navigate through the process and do the instruction on how to actually fill in this information. If I know exactly where I am, I can turn it off. I can also turn this one off, and then I just have my standard view and available. And whenever I need the user adoption center, I just click on the little button up here, and then everything is back to where we were before. Now, you might have seen that up there in the corner, I have notifications. So that means as an author, I can add out information to my users if there's something important I want to do. If I, for instance, just refresh this one and look like I'm a new employee coming in. There we go. Then ClickLearn pushes out a notification as I asked it to. By the way, remember, there's site maintenance. You need to be aware that there could be some occurrences during the over the weekend here. So it's a very good way. You can either do that as here, an intrusive one where you can't interact with IFS until you actually read the part. You can have it as a subtle one where it's just going to be that you can't really get any help. Or you can have it as a little list over here with notifications if you want to do that. So there are so many neat features where you can easily go about it. And you might even notice that the instruction then kind of adjusts the suggestions of what I'm looking at as I navigated in IFS and came to a particular part of the application. So this is the user adoption center where we can kind of get all the information right where we need it, when we need it, inside the application.
Thank you very much, Peter. Great to see. We've already, after this announcement, after our release at Unleashed, we've already seen such a great interest from our customers, and we are so happy to be able to deliver this capability. One other interesting capability that I will be touching very briefly on is an advanced functionality that we've been having for a very long time. It is the automated process testing. Now, the fact that ClickLearn records and when recording recognizes the different areas and fields in the application, the fact that we have the replay functionality that understands differences between the versions, but also changes in your environment, allows us to deliver testing capabilities. So you can test your application's processes automatically. Before I move to the capabilities, I want just to mention a couple of other areas that might be a challenge, and those are basically very common in most of those testing projects. The first challenge with doing testing manually is the errors by the users. The situation, obviously, we can imagine that we're asking people to test some things and again, tens or hundreds of times, and of course that will expose to test issues or to errors by the user and tester. Another challenge usually is the scope of the test. The bigger we make the scope, of course, the more resources we will need, the more time we will spend on testing, and that might also create a situation where there might be delays in the release date and time. And finally, the last challenge is the data sets. When testing done manually, users and testers might be referring to different testing data sets. Those might be outdated. They will be not uniform. Some of those might get lost. So in the end, this might impact the end result and the goals that you want to achieve with testing. What we do, we provide capabilities for automating the whole process. So what you can basically do, you can get any click-learn recording and convert this into a repeatable process and a test scenario. And simply, you can add a repeater action, which will allow you to add and simulate repeated tests by end users. Another important element is that you can yourself define how complex your test scenario will be. You can take a single recording and have a very simple, basic test process, or you could also combine or connect several different recordings into one, creating a more complex and end-to-end test scenario. You can do testing based on use cases or localization, and you can, for IFS Cloud, you can use APIs in order to push data and specify all data what you need for your testing. At the end, in short, what you basically can do, you can start an automated process testing project on a Friday, for example, and then when you're back on Monday, you will have a detailed report about what went potentially wrong, or if everything was right as it should be, if everything is working as you were anticipating it. You will get screenshots of the whole test process, and you will know if you can proceed further with your release. So, Peter, can you give us a very brief overview of this module and how it looks like? Just visualize what the automated process testing functionality looks like.
That I sure can. I'll just share my screen here. There we go. There we go. So, to start out with, we talked, just to understand a bit about the automated processing, we talked about just before about replaying. And when we take back the recording we were looking earlier, we of course get all of the instructions delivered. But over here, as you see on the data editor, we have the ability to also see some of the data that we're picking up as we're navigating through it. So for instance, this particular information, we went into the company number 10, and I added in Peter. Very basic recording that we have here. I can, of course, go in and customize this. So that means if I'm going back in here and saying, next time I want to do an update, I want to do that on company number 51, and I want to change my name into Aaron. I can easily do that. All of this is done on the language that you want to do the replay on. So that means if I say save changes here, if I've added multiple languages in here, I would be able to change the language up here, and then I could do the same thing, because it might not be that you have the same data in the different countries that you want to deliver the content for. So you can, of course, not do a replay of a process for a company with the value 10 if that number is not available in the particular UI you want to do the replay on. So you have this ability to go ahead and change the updates, the content we're looking at. Save it, and then you have the feature down here that says replay. And when I do the replay, ClickLearn will simply just mimic everything that I did originally, automatically run through the entire process, and recapture everything for me. It's a very, very simple feature, so I can just quickly show you here how we are updating it. Click play, don't touch mouse or keyboard, and it's very similar to what we're going to be talking about in just a second when we're talking about the automated process testing, because we can now set up, I'll show you that in a sec, scenarios where we can have ClickLearn mimic and run through the entire process as we did originally, recapture information, put in new data, take out other data, use that in other processes, and then you can completely set a diagram of process flow, so you can do it from A to C process flow. Here, as you can see, we did the original recording with the company number 10. We asked it to go down to number 51. You will see in a second that the cursor automatically jumps down there. It goes into the details, and it will navigate through the little step there. Go in, put in Aaron instead of Peter, and then it will stop down, and it will have updated all my content. This is the same function you will also do when you're doing updates for a new R1 or R2. If IFS, for instance, comes out with a new UI change or something has changed in here. If there's a place where we cannot progress to the next step, ClickLearn will of course report that back, and you will have the ability to update it. So knowing this feature and how you can easily update it, if we just quickly see the preview here, then you can see that it had now updated everything. We went into number 51, and everything is now up to date accordingly to what we did before. If we take our recordings like we did here, and then we go into another project, because what we've just been working in is what we call a content project. This is where we deliver content to our end users and learn, teach them how to do the processes. Then we can go down here to what we call an automated process testing project. So you notice that the icons over here on the side are a little bit different, because in a test scenario, we only need the recordings, and then we need the test cases, and then of course reports afterwards. So I have all my recordings up here in the recording list, and down here in the test scenario, I can now go down and build a test. You can do many different test cases. It could be anything from, in this case here, where I'm starting up IFS. So I create a test where I go into a particular website. In this case here, of course, IFS. I tell it to do it in Edge. I want to do it incognito. And then afterwards, I've created a recording where I'm going in and actually navigating through the login sequence, adding in my credentials, etc. In this particular case. If I go into another test case that I created, then I actually build it up. So I took that test that I usually did before with the start. I took the cloud company, which is a process where I'm navigating through IFS into a particular company, and then I'm clicking on the data field of name. Here I can go in and add a variable where I can now say, well, I actually want the name, but I also want the country name from the country code from that particular company. And if that should be United States, then I want you to execute a legacy app and then go through another recording. If not, then just go back and start all over. And then you can, of course, set up iteration tables where you can add in data points and navigate through the different steps here. So there is complete end-to-end regressive testing you can do here on top of the UI. Every time you navigate through a process, then we get a log file that will show you exactly what went right and what went wrong. If I go in here and say open this one, we can take a test case down here. Oh, sorry, not that one. I have one here. If I open this one up, I have a log file where you can see if everything went right and where it didn't go wrong, if there was a part in there. So, and then of course, as we navigate through the processes on the top of the screen, we actually also get screen captures. So that means that you can go in and see, well, because if a failure comes out, it's typically not when you do that particular step where it failed. It's typically something that was related 2 or 3 steps previously that took me to that route. By giving you the scenarios where we actually get the complete image sequence of what we went through, we can also see, oh, this is because it actually chose this particular value instead of another one, and then you can go in and update your test that way. So this is very fastly explain what is automated process testing and how does it work. But as I recall, Aaron, we're going to do a deeper dive into this at a later point in time. But yes, this
Correct.
is automated process
Yes,
testing.
so we will have deeper dives both in this area, in the automated process testing, but also we will have a very separate session about the user adoption center itself. So watch out, there will be a lot of new things coming up.
And there are so many additional features in that user adoption center that we haven't even touched upon today. So definitely look forward to that session. That's going to be interesting.
Yes, there is a lot more to show and explain about this functionality. Even myself, I have to learn and catch up a lot probably. So Final details to wrap up the webinar for today. Who benefits from ClickLearn? We've mapped 3 different departments, let's say, that are obviously very happy with what we are providing. The first one is the IT department. IT is very happy because it's a 360-degree solution. They can cover different projects. They can cover different applications as well. We reduce help desk calls enormously. At the same time, everything is automated. IT's involvement is mostly minimal, probably almost none. The end user likes the output and what we deliver because we do support any learning style. We've talked about the formats that we had for a very long time, the different words, PowerPoints, videos, and the assistant. And now on top of this coming the user adoption center, those allow the end user to consume the information, to learn the way they prefer and the way they need to do that at the point of need and where they are in the whole journey with your organization. At the same time, all the instructions are uniform. No matter who the author is, they will have the very same look and feel. The end user will easily find all the information they need with the structure that is being delivered. And of course, the Life Assistant and the User Adoption Center will help the end users enormously, especially if they are very new to the organization or if they are very new to IFS Cloud. At the same time, potentially, if they are standing in for somebody and not maybe repeating the same process over and over again and need some assistance, immediate assistance. And finally, when we look at the management and the ROI, we do support high process accuracy and support reducing implementation risks. Due to the fact that everything is recorded properly, it's updated easily, and it's structured in the portal with the in-app guidance. We help these 2 areas. And of course, we also help rapid user adoption and fast onboarding of your users to IFS Cloud. That was all from our end. Just to give you an idea, the customers that are listening in today, please reach out if you have any questions about be it the User Adoption Center or any other functionality you have seen today. People that don't have a ClickLearn license yet and are interested, we will gladly provide you with a free trial license. You can experience the application in your own environment, free of charge, of course. We will also provide you a free training session linked to this trial license. You will be able to test those functionalities in your environment, in your organization, but you will also see how it is to work with us, with the sales team, account management, customer success team, and the support team. So we look forward to being in contact and in touch with you. Thank you very much for joining this session today. Peter, thank you very much for the extensive demonstration and all these details you have provided us.
You're so welcome. It was a pure joy to be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you and goodbye.
Bye.